Good morning, this is Kris Shoemaker, also known as Yehudah ben Shomeyr, and you're listening to Coffee with Kris, the time of the day where we share a cup of coffee and share a bit of the Word of God. Thank you so much for joining me on this Thursday morning for a hot cup of coffee and a hot cup of the Word of God. We are in the Torah portion of Vaera, which means I appeared, and our passage for today is Exodus chapter 8, verses 7 through 18. So let's go ahead and jump down to the very last verse of our portion for today, verse 18. And it says, "But on that day I will set apart the land of Goshen, where my people are dwelling, except no swarm of flies will be there, so that you may know that I, Adonai, am in the midst of the earth." Let's just go ahead and read verse 19 for kicks. "And I will make a distinction between my people and your people, that is Egypt. By tomorrow, this sign will happen." So verse 18, "But on that day I will set apart the land of Goshen, where my people dwell, and then no swarm of flies will be there." What do you think this means? Interestingly enough, it likely means that Israel had to endure the blood, the frogs, and the lice, just like Egypt. That may shock some of you. That may outrage some of you. That may make you think how unfair that is. I mean, God was there to deliver Israel, and yet he's punishing them with the same plagues up until this point? What's the deal? Why? Number one, the rabbis believe that God may have allowed Israel to endure the first several plagues to purge them of their pride, of their sin, of their entitlement, to purge them of the sins that they have accumulated over that amount of time as they were slaves in Egypt. Also to humble them and to get their attention to say, I am God. I have more power than Ra. I have more power than Isis. I have more power than all these other Egyptian gods within the pantheon. I am God over them. I am the ruler. So it was to grab their attention and to humble them. Number two, it was to test their faith, whether they were really going to trust God, even though they may be enduring hardship and enduring punishment. Are they going to believe the original prospect that they were going to be delivered out of Egyptian bondage? So it was for a purging process, it was for a humbling process, and it was for a test of faith, whether they were really going to believe that God was going to deliver them, or he was just going to end up letting them go through all the plagues like he was Egypt, and then just kind of deliver a scraggling few. I think it's very, very interesting. So what does that tell us? It tells us that we're not exempt in life from trouble. We're not exempt in life from plagues. We're not exempt in life from hardship. The Lord will allow us to go through hardship. Just read the first chapter of James. He says that he uses trials in our lives to develop patience, to develop stamina, endurance, and perseverance. And we need to let these trials have its complete and perfect work, to do what it's intended to do. Yeshua himself said to his disciples and said to us that in this world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world. So we are going to have to endure suffering, but the Lord also said, those who endure to the end shall be saved. He will give us the strength to endure. And the lessons that we learn from enduring these trials and tribulations will serve us well in the future, will serve us well down the road. In the midst of these trials, it sucks. In the midst of these trials, we may even be angry at God. But when we're on the other side of it and looking back in retrospect, we're like, wow, I'm so glad that that happened. Did you know that the majority of people who are believers who go through like cancer, or leukemia, or some sort of life-threatening disease, and they come out the other end, they're asked, would you wish things to be different? Would you wish you never had cancer? And they say, you know, this may sound crazy to you, but I wouldn't trade my cancer experience for the world. I would not trade this trial or tribulation for the world. Why? You suffered so much. But yes, I suffered so much. But in that process, I learned so much more. I become so much closer to God that I would never trade that experience. You know, it's kind of like buddies in a war. Guys who share a foxhole together, they go through hell. They go through a living nightmare that they wouldn't wish upon their worst enemy. And yet, they wouldn't trade it for the world, because they went into the foxhole as friends, loosely, as acquaintances, let's say, and they came out brothers. So it's trials and hardships that solidify us to other people and solidify us to God, they're necessary in this life. It's necessary for the butterfly to struggle to get out of the cocoon so the wings will be strong so it can fly and have a life. So in this world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world, the Lord said. Guys, thanks so much for listening. Go out there and have a great day. Shalom, and God bless.